Hello, everybody. I'm Andre, your host in this evening, and welcome for the EIT Young Professionals Coventry and Warwickshire event called Level Up Your Career. Please consent that this event did, so if you want to avoid this, please change your name or turn off your camera. All right, I think we can start the webinar. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them via the Zoom chat. All right, so is everybody ready? Here we have our panelists. First, Hannah Lawrence, Hannah Harper, Vanessa Stanley, Andrew Tickle, and Graham Prebble. To begin with, Hannah Lawrence.
Hey guys, so thank you for the introduction. So my name is Hannah Lawrence and I'm a cyber investigator and I work for GE Aviation and I normally live in Cheltenham. I did an electronic engineering degree and I was at Coventry University and now I'm a cyber investigator. So I'm going to try and explain a bit about my strange short career path and kind of how the hell I've managed to get here because it's a bit weird, a bit different, but hopefully from then you'd kind of see if I go through it, you'll see my main lessons that I've learned and how I got there and what you can do to, either follow me on my strange career path or, don't do what I did at all. It's completely up to you. So I really liked maths and physics when I was in school. And so I decided, why not just combine them? And as you can see, I really like using my hands. I don't know if you can see or not. I don't really know how far up the camera goes, but I really like using my hands. And so I decided to combine this and I kind of eventually managed to get to electronic engineering. So I did an electronic engineering degree at Coventry. And while I was there, I decided to try and be a bit loud to try and stand out. So I was a rep and I managed to win a scholarship and I got a place on the IET Young Professionals Committee. And so I tried to do stuff which would make me stand out, just to give me kind of a bit of a confidence boost for when I was applying so that I wouldn't just be talking about like my regular, stuff that I did at uni. I'd be able to talk a bit about like more than that. And so one of the things that I did was I did a placement. So I managed to get a year, just over, so 14 months, doing electronic engineering at GE Oil and Gas, which is now Baker Hughes. Yeah, it's now Baker Hughes. And during that, what I learned was that I really enjoyed like the software side of electronic engineering, but I didn't enjoy the hardware side, which kind of helped. I think it helped narrow it down. And I also discovered that I really enjoyed doing leadership. So I had a few opportunities to lead teams and like, it wasn't anything that was, like a life or death situation. If I mess it up. And it was just like kind of small things I was able to lead. So stuff like leading the interns through an EHS project, for example. And so between the two, I then kind of decided that when I was applying for my graduate scheme, that I wanted to do something where I'd be able to get like leadership opportunities and be able to kind of do engineering to see if I still kind of liked doing engineering, because I don't know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, 5 years and 10 years, however far out of your career you look, because I'm not that good at looking that far. And so I applied and then thankfully eventually got on to the Edison Engineering Development Program to the GE Aviation. So for those of you who don't know, so GE is, so GE is a company that was founded by Thomas Edison. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And GE Aviation is a huge aviation company. So we make both engines. So, like you go on a plane and like, you look and you either see like a Rolls-Royce logo normally, or you see a GE meatball, which is really cool. Or alternatively, the other side is systems. So I did the aviation systems engineering, Edison development program. So this involved doing 3 rotations, which I thought was great. So my first rotation, I was kind of given. So that was in hardware, like doing FPGA verification. So verification is, so like, let's say your customer gives you a requirement that, I don't know, they want your product to be, they want their product to be blue. So then verification would be, looking and making sure that the product was blue. It's obviously a lot more confusing than that, but that's kind of how you'd summarize it. And so what I discovered from that was I never wanted to do hardware again. Ta-da! And so as a result, when I was looking for my second rotation, I didn't really know what to do, but I was thinking I just wanted to do something where I'd have a really good team and hopefully do something kind of software based. And so I ended up with that. I ended up doing FACAS, which is essentially just like a load of metrics, but so it's used on production lines to determine like how to do continuous improvement. And so I was developing software for that, and I had a really great team. So this was all during like my first year of the Edison program. And so while I was doing this, I was also doing a huge amount of volunteering. So I led a scheme that we run on our site called Girls Get Set, which is all about getting girls into science, engineering, technology careers, because 11% is not enough. And so while I was on one of my events that I was running on one of the days, there was a guy who was volunteering from our site, and I'd never met him before. And so I went up to him and I was just like, hey, what do you do? And he was just like, oh, I work in cybersecurity. And like, in cartoons where like you just see like, the eyes just go like they pop out and it's just like, woo. I was just like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Do you have any jobs available? And he was just like, well, I don't know, but I'll. And so after speaking to people for a while, it took quite a lot of conversations, I eventually got my final rotation doing cybersecurity software development. So it was a great mix of what I thought I wanted to do, so software with the field of cybersecurity. And I really enjoyed it. It was a completely different environment, something that I've never, ever done before. And I liked it so much that I kind of decided to stay. So I've now rolled off the Edison program into my full-time job, where I'm a cyber investigator. So I was going to say I catch bad guys for a living. That's what I feel like I do. But in reality, it's a lot of looking through kind of emails and doing more of the insider threat. So making sure that people aren't sending out IP and stuff that shouldn't be going outside the company, really. So it's really fascinating stuff, but definitely not what I'd have thought that I'd been doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Even when I started the Edison program. So something that I wish that I'd have known, like when I started the Edison program, is that, you can do anything, you don't have to do engineering, and that just because you've had one bad rotation, one thing that you don't like, doesn't mean that, it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean that every rotation or every manager or every team that you're going to be in is going to be like that, because I didn't like that. I don't know. The manager who I was with, we didn't get along, which I don't know. It was just a bit odd, but it's not that, it's just from my view of the world, I didn't like him. Other people, have rolled off into the job in that team. So, it was evidently just a bad situation. And so it was a bit odd, but I think something else that I would have wished that I'd have known is that, don't be afraid to kind of have imposter syndrome. That does exist. And so, combat that. But I've spent the last 2 years like reading books about, how to kind of make sure that, you're motivated and everything. And so Presence by Amy Cuddy, Feeling Powerful, all the Brené Brown books, just making sure that, you are empowered, you're awesome, basically, and just keep telling yourself that. And then I think, you'll be okay. And I suppose, I don't know what I'd have wished I'd have done differently. I think if I wouldn't have done an internship at GE, I definitely wouldn't have known about the Edison program. If I wouldn't have joined the Edison program, I don't know where I'd be now. And then I tried to take literally every opportunity that I had. So I spent so much time doing volunteering. Like I worked it out and I did over 250 hours of volunteering last year, which is a bit nuts, but I learned so much from every bit of volunteering that I did. And so for me, it was really important. So I suppose prioritizing and doing stuff that you enjoy and stuff that you're passionate about is so important. And like you'll find learning experiences, like you'll find stuff that you can learn. So like whether that's by leading a team or by doing public speaking, stuff like this, or by helping kids and learning like those types of skills, or by improving your technical skills. There are learning opportunities everywhere. You just kind of have to go and grab them, and then once you've kind of gone and grabbed them, then more and more and more and more will start kind of coming. And yeah, I think that's just really important. I think that's kind of me. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask away. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Does anybody, do you have any questions? Let me check. All right.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, what is imposter syndrome?
Sorry, that's a good question. I'm sorry I didn't cover that. So it's kind of like feeling like you don't, I suppose it's feeling like you don't belong, or feeling like you don't deserve the place that you got, feeling like you don't deserve the job that you got, or feeling like, you just kind of got it because, I don't know, because, so I felt so the Edison program is 2 years, and for basically the whole of the first year, I felt like I was on the program because literally every other person who was at the assessment center had declined, and it was just me, like left. I know it sounds really stupid, but you kind of feel that way. Like I was the only one with I was the only one without a master's. Still am the only one without a master's. I'm therefore the youngest one. And so I decided to kind of do everything kind of in my power to kind of make sure that, I did belong. So like I volunteered for literally everything. Whenever like people ask me what I volunteered for, I kind of rattle off a list, and then I realize that I forget stuff every time. It's really funny. And so I suppose it does exist, but you will get over it. Like it took me a good year to realize, well, I don't know. I think it took me a year. I think that now that I'm in my new position, I'm now the only one with an electronic engineering degree rather than being the only one with a cybersecurity background. And so now I'm just kind of faking it till I become an expert at it. That's like a really big thing. It's probably like my life motto, which is fake it till you become it. And yeah, Amy.
Right, thank you. We have another question from Morgan. He said, you say that you volunteer. What volunteering did you do, and how do you feel has aided your career development?
Oh, are you ready for the list? Okay, so a perk of, in my eyes, a perk of being kind of at an engineering company and being in a big engineering company is that they have a lot of involvement in STEM and in STEM like UK. So as I said about Girls Get Set earlier, so I was one of the year leads for the Girls Get Set in my first year, and then I became the Cheltenham site lead in my second year, which was really cool. So I learned a lot about leadership skills from that. So I led a team of 33 people, like they were all early careers, and it wasn't like huge stakes or anything, but it really taught me a lot about leadership lessons, because I had to organize them and I had to sort out debates and sort out problems, and that was really important. I ran the site, the Edison newsletter, which went out to all of aviation, like all people in aviation. So that's like, I don't know, quite a few thousand people. And that taught me a lot about organizing people, and especially organizing people virtually, which I now realize is really important. Like it wasn't important at the time because, at the time it was like the only thing that I was doing, which was really virtual. And that was great. And also I got to, like put all my grammar skills in check and be the editor. What else? I'm trying to think of like the main ones that I did that were really beneficial. Oh yeah, now, and the most important one like now. So during the first lockdown, gosh, first lockdown, I hate saying that. During the first lockdown, we had a load of volunteers so like literally that team of 30 something people, we all kind of didn't have any volunteering to do. And so me and an apprentice called Sydney, who's awesome, we developed a STEM scheme that's purely online called STEM Together. And, you know, we literally started that from nothing and brought it up, and it's now like a huge scheme that, you know, is like fully online. It's G's only volunteering, well, it's G's only STEM online scheme, and it's awesome. We love it. We've got so much coming up for it. It's really cool. And so, you know, that definitely taught me skills of persuasion, because having to be like, you know, oh yeah, so we've got a thing, we don't really know how to go about it, but you know, we think it will be great, we just need to start it. And also utilizing network is so important, like having a big network and having people who you can go to ask questions. And, you know, even if they then ask you questions back, you know, having that big network is so important. And, you know, you kind of get that the more stuff you do. Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Thank you very much, Hannah. All right. So here we go. Unfortunately, Davies couldn't make it for today, but if you want to ask him any questions, you can email him. He is he founded a startup called Messina, and yeah, I'm just gonna let here his email. All right. The next panelist is Vanessa Stanley. She's graduate design engineer, Siemens Rail Infrastructures. So you have the word, Hannah.
All right, thank you, Andre. So for the introduction, I'm Vanessa Stanley, and like Hannah, I also graduated from the CovUni Electronic Engineering program in 2019. I am a second year graduate currently. So just to take you through my career path as well, it started with my internship in second year. I applied for quite a few companies, Siemens being one of them, because I had absolutely no clue about what I wanted to do. So I applied to the talent pool at Siemens, which is essentially something you can apply to that means you'll get sorted into a place where your talents lie. So what happened with me is I got put into an amazing women's only assessment centre, just to encourage women in engineering, which was such an amazing idea from them. And we then had, after an activity in groups and being assessed, we then had 3 back-to-back interviews for 20 minutes each, with 3 different matches for different sectors of Siemens. And I eventually got matched with rail electrification. So if you guys don't know, Siemens, again, is a huge company. We've got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, so there is a huge amount of choice. There will be a role for you. So I accepted the internship offer, and I started for that year just going around the business, familiarising myself with it, because I didn't know the first thing about rail electrification. It is such an incredible business, and there are so many intricate little parts to it that you would have no idea goes behind the scenes. And after my internship, I got offered a graduate role, and in order to keep in touch with them during that interim period between leaving them and returning for my graduate role, I asked them if I could do my dissertation with them, which they accepted. So amazingly, they funded my final year project. and it was such a good way to keep in touch. And now I am going into protection and control, so essentially making sure that all the lines are protected from any short circuits so they can be cleared and we don't disrupt normal travel. So that's basically my career journey up until now in a nutshell. In terms of things I wish I'd known at the start of my career, I'd say definitely do not be afraid to make mistakes and ask questions, because it's the perfect time in your career to make mistakes. You're there to learn at the end of the day. You're not there to just make the tea. You're there to get involved and get stuck in. And if you do make a mistake, definitely learn from it. Because my line manager's always said to me, if you make a mistake, you'll remember it for a lifetime. And it ended up being a really good piece of advice for me personally, and always just having a go at that task, even if you're not 100% sure. And because all of my team are actually senior engineers, they don't always have time to sit down and tutor you through everything. So definitely having a go, looking around, trying to find for yourself the information that you need to do the task is a really useful thing to learn in itself. And if you're early on in your career, never ever underestimate your value and what you can bring to the table. Don't be afraid to contribute to a conversation that you see seniors having. Don't be afraid to speak up in a meeting, because you never know what can happen. They might love your idea. And another piece of advice is treat your internship or graduate scheme like a 1 or 2 year long interview, because at the end of it, they will be assessing you, and if they want you to progress further. So it's just a good idea to just keep impressing and just keep going. And I think the importance of finding a mentor is huge, because in terms of career development, it's always good to have someone who is invested in you and who will give time for you. And something that I found quite cool that I actually discovered recently is something called reverse mentoring. It's where you actually mentor someone who is in a more senior role than you, which I know sounds a bit crazy, but it's a really good way of encouraging diversity and especially bringing in some new and fresh ideas from new talent, essentially. So Siemens is very, very big on having a go at reverse mentoring. I'd say my general advice for students is, if you apply to places, do not give up and do not get discouraged if you get rejected, because it can happen. It's very, very heartbreaking, I know, but do not give up. Keep trying, because you will find the right place for you in the end. And definitely use the talent team services. They were called EUC Futures while I was at university. They were very, very useful in checking over my CV and my applications to make sure I did have that competitive edge. And they also run workshops for numerical reasoning, and they basically all the psychometric tests that you can and will get put through for interviews. Especially with values fit tests, I think those are very important, because you need to be authentic. Don't try and fit yourself into what you think the company wants. Just be yourself, and if you are the right fit, you will be the right fit. Just trust yourself. I'd also say come up with your own definition of success. Siemens are very big on something called ownership culture, where you can really customize your career and drive your own path, which I think is amazing. I think a lot more companies are starting to take on this kind of thing as well. So, you know, you won't get pulled into one track that you not necessarily want to. So definitely take the time on rotations to explore, get to know the other teams. And it's a good way of making contacts, because you never know when you might need something from another team. You already know the person you need to get in touch with. And I would say my final piece of advice is, as Hannah said, with getting involved with STEM, volunteering, the IET, especially because it's really, really good to give back to the community that's given so much to you. And I think if you join the more IET activities as well, not only can you expand your network, but also your technical knowledge, because there are so many resources that you can find by becoming a member. So yeah, that is my journey.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. We have a question for you from
Yeah.
Morgan. You mentioned the values of Siemens. How did you find about these values, and what did you do to showcase the fit during the application stages?
Ooh, that's very interesting. So companies tend to have a certain ethos, which you can find on their website. So you can definitely look up Siemens's, responsible, intelligent. So, those core values are really good to represent. As I said earlier, if you do end up having a values fit test, don't force yourself to fit a certain mold that you think they want. Just be your authentic self, and you'll always come off better for it.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Vanessa?
I think there might be one from Young. Oh, he sent it to me privately by accident.
All right, so from Young, yeah. How did you go around finding a mentor, and how did you feel confident you found the right mentor?
Okay, so with mentors, it's always good to find someone who isn't necessarily in your team, but is a right fit, that you have chemistry with them, and they can essentially take you through that career path, and someone you look up to. We have a scheme where people can say, yes, I'm interested in becoming a mentor. Yes, I'm interested in becoming a mentee. So it's a really, really nice process for us. But it can be as easy as asking someone, do you want to become my mentor? I'm a graduate currently, and I'm interested in someone helping me develop in my career. And you will just know when you found the right mentor.
Perfect, thank you. Another question. What is your idea of success in an engineering aspect?
Oh, okay. My personal one is definitely making sure that the end customer experience is as good as possible, because that is the aim of rail as a whole. We want to make sure that you travel in comfort and with ease. So if there's anything I do to help towards that, it's always my goal. And it's what drives me as well, just to make sure that everything is safe, protected, and that we can get you all moving.
Perfect, thank you very much. If we don't have any more questions for Vanessa, all right, we have the last one probably. Working at the rail company, have you appreciated traveling on trains more?
Yes, 100%. I remember a specific moment in time where I was sat on a train to London for a training course. I looked at all of the overhead line equipment and I thought, I know how all of this works. I know all of the intricacies behind it, and it really truly does give you an entire new appreciation for it, because there is genuinely so much that goes on behind the scenes, not just on Siemens' part, but our partners in Network Rail, Jacobs, TSP. It's incredible everything that they do for the industry.
All right, thank you very much, Vanessa. So our next panelist is Dr. Andrew Tickle. We can
unmute my microphone.
Yep, now we can hear you.
So yeah, common mistake during during online meetings. So I've got a slightly different career path because I went into academia, and my whole career pathway started when I was a second year undergraduate, and I met this really amazing professor, and it's a guy called Professor Jim Lucas when I was studying at the University of Liverpool, and he was a roboticist, he was a professor, he knew his stuff, and he could just really motivate a class. And ever since that point, I was like, that was what I wanted to do. Some people thought that that was a bit short-sighted of me at that age to consider that was what I wanted to do with my career, but I was just so motivated by it that I knew that that was what I wanted to do. And so everything from that point in my life was just motivated towards becoming an academic so I could be like this guy. So because originally at that point I was thinking of working in astrophysics, working like a place like Jaguar Bank and radio telescopes. And then, like I said, this guy talked about robotics and automation and everything else. It just really motivated me so much. And then, obviously, I was on the M-Eng at the time. So, and M-Engs were fairly new back in the early noughties because they were only been around for a while. So they weren't commonly known. So I spent my next aim was obviously I needed to get at least a 2-1 in my degree in order to get into the PhD program. And from that point onwards, what I did was I actually went through, did my final year project based on robotics. Unfortunately, I didn't get the supervisor I wanted, but he was still really motivational, and he was a colleague of my supervisor. And ironically, my supervisor was that guy who motivated me. He was one of his PhD students who was still working at the university. So I finished in 2005 with my master's and then enrolled onto the PhD program. Again, if you want to go into academia, you can stay at the same university or you can move around between degrees. It doesn't really affect your degree, your career pathway to do that. So then during my PhD, obviously, whilst I'm doing my research, I'm like thinking, I want to go into academia because, and there's 3 strands in academia that you can go into. There's like, you can go down a purely teaching focused route. So become a teaching fellow, senior teaching fellow. And some of my friends and colleagues have done that. There's also the route where you can go just down the research route. So become a research fellow, senior research fellow, etc., because not everyone likes teaching, but if you like both things like me, then you can do both at the same time. So you can do the technical research and the teaching. And during my undergraduate, I did summer internships so that I could get more of an idea behind the feel, behind how academia worked. So I worked in the labs, I did some admin work and publicity work for them, and then that carried on naturally during my PhD. So I spent 2 days a week teaching in the laboratories. So I actually spent time during my undergraduate actually then going through and rewriting a lot of the things to make them more student friendly. And that teaching experience was really good. I obviously was publishing papers and research. And when I graduated in 2009, so I still stayed at Liverpool. I got a 1-year research fellowship, carrying on to work for my PhD on robotic navigation systems. So I got some more papers published. I went to some more conferences and met some more people and networked, which was really great. Also during my PhD, I got more involved with the IET, so I became publicity officer for the Mersey and Western Cheshire network before becoming the YP chair. Then a year after, I became a teaching fellow, doing electronics and software, and then I was applying for a permanent lectureship, and then I came to Coventry University, where I became a lecturer. So that was back in 2011. My boss saw the potential in me, and he wanted to originally appoint me as a senior lecturer directly, but he couldn't, unfortunately, due to regulations. So he actually took me under his wing and he was like my mentor for the next 2 years, where because lecturers are great, you can do research and everything else, but if you want to get elevated to senior lecturer, you need to start doing some curriculum development, curriculum management, and things like that. So in my interview, I actually said I wanted to design my own course, which maybe was a bit ambitious of me for someone only 2 years out of the PhD, but he actually really liked that idea, and so I designed the MSc in Electrical Electronic Engineering at the university, which was its second master's program, and is now part of the MEng at Coventry as well. And I became course director for that when that started, and that enabled me to get my boost up to senior lecturer. I carried on doing work with pedagogy, innovative teaching approaches, and things like that. I then got asked to become the director for our international partnership with KPIT Technologies out in India. And my recent thing is I'm now just taking over the Final Year Project module, so I can feed all this research material back in and help guide the next generation of students. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. Looking back, if I'd have known what I know now, I would have probably tried to focus some more on the innovative teaching approaches. And yes, I did teach Hannah, and I've taught Vanessa, and I wish I'd have got more involved in some of these innovative teaching approaches, such as flipped classroom, videos, online tours. So I wish I would have got involved in that a lot sooner. And that was actually thanks to a colleague of mine who I share my office with called Mark Tyers, and he actually got me into all this stuff, because he was doing it with the computing students and thought, why don't you try this with the electrical guys, Andrew? And I was like, it works so great. So I would have loved to have get involved more in that earlier. Obviously the technology is a lot more developed now than it was, so it makes things a lot easier, such as Zoom calls and video recording and all the editing softwares and everything around. So it might have been harder to do it 10 years ago, but it was something that I would have really liked to have got more into when I started out teaching. Academia can be hard to get into because there aren't many places in academia to work. So like mirroring what Vanessa was saying, just don't give up, because I had over 20+ interviews before I got my lectureship at Coventry, because things are that competitive. So again, don't feel sad or down if you get rejected, because there's always other places to go and other universities to see. With regards to doing interviews for a university position, one key thing I can say, because I've actually been on interview panels myself now, is make sure you research the university that you want to apply for, to show that you can fit into their existing research structure. So basically, I did that when I applied to Coventry. I said, oh, I could go and see, I could work with CTAC on robotics, I could work with Cogent on this. So it actually came across that I had done my research, and I showed that my round peg can fit in a round hole rather than a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Because that was the mistake I made in some of my earlier interviews. I was saying I want to do this, this, and this, and this, even though it didn't meet the university's aims and objectives. So it's important that you can show that you can fit in, and obviously to show that you can do the research. Anything I'd have done differently? Academia can be, obviously I don't know about industry because I've never worked in industry, but academia can be quite overwhelming with the peaks and troughs and the deadlines, so the marking and content development, curriculum development. So it can get a bit overwhelming at times. So the biggest thing I would say is make sure that you have a good work-life balance. It's not all work, work, work. Make sure you do have your chill out time. You can do things that you like well, and things like that. So it took me a while to learn that lesson, but work isn't the be all and end all of everything. So make sure that you do have a work-life balance. And like I said, at times in academia, it can get overwhelming. But like I said, just the satisfaction of a student when they understand something, when that light bulb goes on above their head, and you can actually see them graduate after that 3 or 4 years and everything else. So yeah, and like I said, if that graduation day when people get the degree and you see them so happy and everything else, that's one of the most rewarding feelings you get in academia. So yeah, I think I probably had my 10 minutes, if or more so even. So I will stop here. Like I said, I could probably talk about this for a lot longer, but as you can find, I'm passionate about this. So I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. We have some questions here. So, how do you personally maintain your work-life balance?
How do I personally maintain it? Okay. So yeah. So I make sure now that I actually do things that I like doing outside of work. So just things I do to relax. So I do things like kickboxing. I go out. I do cycling. I meet up with friends and things. I just make time to do the things that I enjoy doing now. So yeah. Long gone now are the days when I used to work until the wee small hours of the morning, writing lecture notes or writing research papers and things like that. But yeah, so just basically do something that you enjoy, and that so like that. So yeah.
Thank you. Question from Marcin. How EIT helped you in your career?
The EIT helped me in my career because in academia, a lot of the IIT, when we get accredited, we need to show that we're an expert in our field. So the fact that all the volunteer work I did with the IIT actually did help me get chartered as well, because I had my PhD and then I had all the additional work volunteering. So such as being the network, being the YP chair, being the publicity officer. I used to help organize research seminars amongst the PhD students. I managed the budget for that and other things like that. I was health and safety coordinator for events and things as well. So the IT really helped me gain those extra skills, because it was quite, well, I was a teaching fellow, which is just below a lecturer when I was at Liverpool, and there were some lecturers who were applying for chartership and they didn't get it because they were just so focused on the web. But because I'd done the volunteering and I got this broader portfolio, which the IT had helped me achieve, I actually got my chartership and they didn't. So it was quite nice that all this volunteer work and giving back to the community had actually helped me with that and actually helped me progress with my career. And obviously that CEng then helped me stand out when I was applying for my lectureships. So.
All right, thank you very much. We have another question here.
Yeah.
So it is clear that those around you in the early stages of your degree supported the career choices in the field of academia, networks, and are really essential. So how much do interactions with the people in the field help you progress?
Yeah, so like I said, the mentors and things to help you progress are really important. And like I said, I actually forgot to say this. That professor who motivated me to do that, when I graduated with my PhD during my postdoctoral years, he was actually my mentor, because he was still there as a emeritus professor. So again, his lifetime of experience in academia was really useful and really valuable. And again, when I started at Coventry, the fact that I had that mentor in the form of the head of department and my line manager was again a really useful thing to have, because I got a lot of the insights, particularly when I was initially settling into Coventry University. So again, that support was really, really useful. And I've actually now been mentoring some of the new members of staff that we have now. So it's like I've come full circle. I'm now the mentor to the new members of staff, because I'm one of the, it makes me sound really ill, but like I'm one of the older members of the academic team now. at Coventry. So I'm actually helping the new members of staff settle in. So everyone seems to look up to me and some of the other members of staff to see how to fit in, how to do things. And yeah, the role of a mentee is really, really important. And again, I've always got on with all my mentors, so it's been great. And like I said, now I consider them friends. I still talk to them and meet up with them when, like I said, with the people in Liverpool whenever I go back up north. And like I said, my old mentor from Coventry, he's now working at our campus in Egypt. He actually, I had a Zoom call with him the other day, and he was like, "Can you help me out on this?" And I'm more than happy to help him on things. And yeah, so you form that bond with your mentor, and that bond lasts a long, long time. So, if not for life, I would say. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but yeah, it's true.
All right, let's pick a last one. What would you say has been the highlight of your career and why?
Oh, blimey, the highlight. That is a hard one. Probably the highlight so far. There's a lot of different things, but probably when through my work with the IT, I got asked by the British Council to do a tour of China. So to promote British education and British universities to China, and we did a 3-week tour from in negotiation with the British Council, both in the UK and in China. And we flew to Hong Kong, and we did a tour where we went from there to Guangzhou to Shenzhou to Xi'an and then to Beijing. And we visited middle schools and universities and throughout the country. And we were actually then finished in Beijing, where we actually did a live stream event where the universities and middle schools in China actually had a competition to create a device. And then myself, so there was 3 judges from engineering and 3 judges from arts. So it was a truly STEAM-based project. And we were judging this event, which was live streamed across the whole of China, which was quite cool. So yeah, I would probably have to say that was the highlight of my career to this point, being asked to do that, because I wasn't just involved in that, I was chairing the judging committee for that. So yeah, so that was really cool.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Our next panelist is Graham Preble.
Hello there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Graham Preble. I've got an electronics degree, an electrical and electronic engineering degree to start with, and I did a further degree, a master's in business administration about 15 years later. We'll come to that later. My career started in '86 when, just as I'd finished my last exams, I'm in the pub with all the other students, and by the time we got to the 3rd beer, some bright spark had the notion of asking where we were all going. And not one of us had a job, because not one of us had even thought about it. We all thought industry would come marching towards us, which is a bit naive, really. But very short order, because we were in boom times, everyone got sorted, and I ended up being given 2 choices. One was essentially to go into software, because I'd done quite a lot of software at university, and the other was to design digital systems, which is far more interesting to me. So that's where I did. And I spent 4 years with an American company designing controllers for mini and mainframe computers, for the storage elements, disks, tapes, SCSI devices, all sorts of things. Really interesting stuff, couple of world firsts at the time. Certainly moved electronics on a bit within the company. I then went to a UK company, and I worked in the military division, same kind of design stuff, just military grade components because of harsh environments. So things for fighter aircraft, for submarines, for satellite launch systems. I had something for an Ariane 3. Its design life was 2 minutes 36 seconds, which I thought was hilarious, but there you go. Lots of really interesting things to do with that. And after 4 years there, I moved on to GPT. This is where I went into telecoms. And what I did there was I worked in a research program for 15 months. We were developing the very first broadband to the home technology demonstrator. Nowadays, the internet is just taken as being there, but it just didn't exist in those days. It was very, very basic through dial-up modems at very low bit rates. And what we proved was you could feasibly put on a synchronous network, because it was synchronous then, not a cloud as it is now, a broadband to the home and allow upstream and downstream data. It was extremely complicated, would not really have worked reliably, and then luckily DSL technology came along. But what it did spawn was the need to move away from a synchronous system to an asynchronous, like packets coming out of the back of a computer. So that's the basis of why we have the internet the way we do in a cloud, because it's packetized. So you have this randomization of time between sending data and it received. Very interesting stuff. Moved within the company, did lots of things to do with chip design and fiber optics and very, very high speed data rates, up to 40 gigabits per second and multi-channel. In fact, there was a period of time in the UK, if you made a phone call, it went over something I designed. In fact, I only thought when Andrew was talking about what he's most proud of, I should have run to the back room, and I've still got the prototype, could have showed it here, but there you go. So when Marconi finally imploded, as it did in 2001, this was the first career break. This is the first chance that I had to move. So I took 6 months off, 7 months off. I needed to reset. I worked very hard. Getting divorced first time, sort of thing. So it was a bit of a trial. And what it did was it changed my work ethic. I realized that you didn't have to work every single day, 9 to 5, 10 o'clock at night, weekends, all the travel. Just didn't need to do that. And I ended up working for Jaguar Land Rover for, it was initially going to be about 3 months, but it turned out to be 3 years, working on putting fiber optics into Range Rovers for the infotainment system. And I had an absolute blast flying around the world testing all this stuff. It was great fun. After that, I took quite a long time off. I took about a year and a bit off. I wanted a really long break. I had gone into contracting at JLR, so I'd done quite well, set a small company up, retained profits and so forth. So I was able to fund actually having a break, a bit of travel, bit of a look as what else I wanted to do. And I ended up working for a company specializing in research programs. So we're putting together consortiums of industrial and academic institutions across Europe and looking at very, very blue skies problems and seeing whether we could make prototypes that could demonstrate future technologies of what were viable or not. Really, really interesting. And this is where one of the little themes of tonight was about work-life balance comes in. There was periods of time where I was on a plane every 2 or 3 days. I was in 3 countries a week. And it just became overwhelming, a bit too much, to be honest. And you have to be mindful that in short bursts it's fine, but if it becomes very, very much your working life, it's going to burn you out big time. Anyway, when that came to a close, again, because I got the taste for having breaks, I had 4 or 5 months off and finally went back into contract work. And I worked for Myra within Jaguar Land Rover, solving a particular problem there. And as on the back of that, they called me back and said, could you manage a breaks program? So here's someone who's worked in high-speed digital electronics, military and space things, chip design, very high-speed, state-of-the-art telecoms, a few things to do with fiber optics in Range Rovers, lots of research programs, and suddenly finds themselves managing a brake design program. You know, the idea that skills are not transferable is a myth. And you should not be particularly fearful of moving around. Okay, so at the end of that, I retired. I'd done 7 or 8 years doing various programs, and I decided I'd retire early. And I do a lot more outside within the institution with mentoring small industries and so forth. if there's anything that I wish I had known, I have no idea. We don't know. We have a pathway. We choose. A problem faces us, and we go left or right or straight ahead, and then the same again, then the same again. You know, if you're happy where you are when you get to my age or Andrew's age or anything like that, you just then you've made it. You've done well. You know, the difference between success and failure is very small. It's just making slightly better and more consistent positive decisions rather than negative. So don't be fearful about taking a chance. What I'd say about interviews is that unlike probably, I mean, Andrew, it's slightly different in the academic world, but in the industrial world, I've interviewed a lot. And there's a few little things to be aware of. First of all, don't lie on your CV. Nobody really cares what your CV says. It's your personal statement. The name of the game is to actually get to the interview. So a trick a recruitment agent told me was think of every keyword you could think of technologically, you could anything at all, write it all down, copy it 10, 20 times onto your CV, and then make it white and minimize it. It'll be embedded within the Word document, and the recruitment agent's scanners will look down keywords, do keyword counting, and you'll be at the top of the list. It was quite a revelation. So you go to interview, it is the personal statement. What you're looking at interview is the person going to fit in? You already know from the career history, looking at it, whether or not they're likely to have the right skills. You're not really investigating, could you do X, Y, and Z? Maybe a little bit, but not very much. What you're asking yourself is, does the person fit in? So don't embellish too much, just be yourselves. You're going to be successful and you're going to be unsuccessful. It's just sometimes it just goes that way. Don't worry about it. If something doesn't happen, move on. Starting a business was one of the other things. Obviously I started consultancy, it grew to a few people, and then I wound it slowly down. Starting a business is a lot easier now than when I did it. There's different kind of paperwork. Now it's all online. You can set one up in minutes. It doesn't cost very much to just get out there and do stuff. But what you need to be mindful of is cash flow. It is not profit that ever kills a business. It is cash flow. You run out of money to pay things. So be mindful about looking after money. Be mindful about taxation. Don't do like some people I know. They forgot all about tax till the tax bill arrived and they didn't have the money to pay for it. So make sure you provision that, and provision pension arrangements and stuff like that. Think longer term is basically the lesson to have. I wanted to draw on a couple of things that Hannah said earlier as well. She talked about a condition, you know, which obviously gave her some anxieties in her first year of doing a apprenticeship or whatever it was, the graduate scheme. Don't be fearful of any kind of anxieties and disabilities. I interviewed someone last week, or was it the week before, and this particular candidate was on spectrum. We were made aware of it. She never let it get in the way, but we had to take certain stages of the interview and the process of going through, but she was absolutely determined to be successful. And all credit to her. So you'll find that if you're feeling stressed out, you've got a disability in some way, you've got some condition that affects you, just be open and honest about it, and you'll find people are very, very supportive. Okay, so don't be fearful about that. Another thing I wanted to talk about was she mentioned volunteering and what she got out of it. Clearly myself, I do a lot with the IT. In fact, I'm up to 414 hours so far this year of voluntary activities, covering a whole raft of stuff. As you can tell, I feel my retirement, and the stuff, the learning you get out of it, the things you learn from people and the different types of industries and technologies is second to none. So get out there, volunteer for stuff and get stuck in. Life skills matter. When we interviewed a candidate a few years ago, and he was an extremely good engineer, but he had almost no management experience at all. And this was a real limitation at interview. But what we found out was he chose not to be promoted because his passion was scouts and scouting. He was a very senior scout in the national movement. He organized great big jamborees with thousands of scouts, did all the health and safety and all the kind of organizing, everything. So he had all the management skills and could demonstrate them. So you can demonstrate skills by voluntary activities as well as in the workplace. Don't underestimate what you gain by giving back. And the final thing is ethics. The IT has a code of conduct, and there is a great deal more emphasis now placed on ethics and professionalism. Engineers are increasingly asked to do things they probably feel a bit uncomfortable. The pressures on getting a product out, on doing stuff that you think is just not right. And you really need, as engineers, to resist this. You really need to take, what am I standing for? What's my moral code? And if I was to leave you with three buzzwords to take away, the first thing is just take a chance. You know, the future is yours to make. It really is. Unlike when I graduated, travel was not quite as common. The opportunities were a bit more fixed. Nowadays, you can just do anything anywhere. Just go for it. Don't be afraid of change. I've changed careers and occupations quite a few times, but still within engineering. Engineering is 95% generic. What you learn in university on the course you're doing, the skills, the analytical skills, the decision-making skills, the planning skills, they're all transferable. Okay, and that's pretty well it. I think that's more than, well, it's 12 minutes. Sorry, boss.
Thank you very much. This is great. I enjoyed every second of it. Thank you very much. We have one question from Vanessa. What is the best way to expand your network?
Oh, I don't know is the honest answer. I mean, in the olden days, you used to collect business cards and you used to make a little table of all this sort of stuff. Nowadays, there's propensity to LinkedIn and everyone links with everyone else. One thing I'd actually caution people to be careful of is their social media profiles. At interview or selection for jobs, people do check your social media profiles. So you just have to be slightly mindful of what you put on, and that includes the professional social media networks as well. But as for networking, I mean, I go to a few events, you meet some interesting people, stay in touch a little bit further, whatever interests I've got, whatever interests they've got. I've never been a massive networker. I must have 500 contacts by this time next week. You know, it just doesn't work that way. People, you interact with people as you go along, and then you interact with others. So don't worry about it. Don't stress about building a network.
Thank you very much. Another question. What skills, in your opinion, are the skills of the future?
What skills are the skills of the future? I don't know. The future's not written. In actual fact, I'm quite pleased that it's your generation that is going to build this, and not my generation. I think always question. Don't underestimate your own personal value, and don't. There are no stupid questions. There are only stupid answers. I think engineers must question and query. Why are we doing this? Could we not do it better? You spot something, think, I wonder if I could apply that here. It's this inquisitorial kind of approach to engineering that develops things. So root things are analytical skills, organizational skills, and planning skills.
Thank you very much. All right.
The Back to the Future. The future's not written. Yeah, well, but it is. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about this. You know, anything I wish I had known, and you know, the realities are you end up in a place in your life, and if you're happy where you are and doing what you're doing, then you've been successful. So you can't sit here and say, this is where I'm going to end up and I'm starting here. That's how I've got to get there. The world just doesn't work that way. You're going to go here, there, and everywhere, and you're going to end up probably somewhere completely different, but just as interesting. You know, so the opportunities available now are considerably higher than when I graduated. You know, that's why I say just don't be afraid of change. Go for it. Have a chance. Take a chance. If it doesn't work out, go do something else.
Thank you. Another question. During your career, you will have noticed substantial change in the industry. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, technology has moved on considerably. I mean, For example, when I first graduated, my first circuit board that I developed was 6-layer PCB. It's about an A4 size, and the components not particularly small, not particularly large either, not particularly complex. I could probably fit that entire design onto several times onto one small chip now. Technology moves on so rapidly and integrates so much. I'll tell you one thing that has changed. There is much higher reliance on software now, and far less on hardware. Hardware is expensive, software is cheap, except for the time it takes to create it. And so running problem solving is much easier, I think, now, whereas in my time you had to, use a slide rule really almost, and you had to be very careful about the analytics. So technology has moved on, but it also means you can be a bit more lazy, which is why I was saying just go back to the analytic, go back to the basics of engineering.
Thank you very much. We have now the last one. How do you balance learning with your career?
Well, I won't say my career's over. I haven't decided never to work again. I just don't want to do it right now. I didn't have a problem. When I chose to do my MBA, it was because I was being forced by the company to take on a team. I was happy being an engineer and working in a lab and having lots of fun. I just didn't want to do anything else. And so I was forced to take a team on. So I said, I'll only do it if you send me on a course. So they sent me on this team leader course, and then they sent me on another course, which turned out to be a management certificate course. And I just carried on. I just said, well, I can do the next one. I'll do the diploma. And then I thought, well, I might as well finish and get an MBA. And I wouldn't underestimate just how much work was involved in the last part of that. It was, I had a full-time job, and then I was working and studying till 11 at night, and that was 6-7 days a week. It was hard work. But at the end of it, you learn so much, which has been useful. But learning is something you either do because you want to do it or because you're forced to do it. I prefer to want to do it. So find something interesting and then go and ask silly questions about it.
All right, thank you very much. We have now our last speaker for this evening and event, Hannah Harper.
Hello, last but not least, yes, it's me, Hannah. Hello, anyone who doesn't know me. Getting stuck in straight away. Apologies if I take a minute to think things through, as I am filling in last minute this evening. I would have had a presentation, but due to time constraints, I haven't been able to do it this evening, but hopefully I can still make this a bit interactive and engaging for you. Cracking on to who I am and what I do. I am an engine health monitoring engineer hired by Explio Group to work full-time at Rolls-Royce Derby. And within engine health monitoring, I work within the civil aerospace digital sector of Rolls-Royce. The digital sector of Rolls-Royce is always expanding, and it's always looking to simplify processes and automate processes. The particular part I work in is for a technology called direct accumulation counts, and what that does is, if you have one flight cycle, which is one takeoff, one land, instead of measuring maintenance by how many cycles have been accumulated on an engine, it's instead on certain aircraft using standard duty cycles. So that takes into account temperatures, pressures, whether an aircraft has had short haul or long haul flights, and that is together is used in an algorithm which is used to calculate the life cycle of parts within the engine more accurately. What I do as part of that is making sure everything that happens for the technology that's been implemented is reflected in all the online databases, and that includes a lot of using SQL language. Some people use Python. daily I'm talking to multiple different airlines, and obviously working full-time at Rolls-Royce, everyone who is there and present within the different teams that work within engine health monitoring. In terms of my career progression up to date, I thought it was, I was mildly amused by what Graham said about getting stuck in with volunteering. How I first started my career in aviation, I'll just flip my screen 1 second. So I first started off at 15. I did my work experience with the Shuttleworth Collection in Bedfordshire. They have a range of classic aircraft owned by the charitable collection and that are privately owned. And as part of that, I spent 8 years from 15 upwards until after I finished university, in which I was working on the aircraft and airside. So it was brilliant because I did aeronautical engineering at Solihull College, and then went on to study aerospace technology at Coventry University. And it was brilliant then being able to apply what I'd learned on the airfield, and also if I'm learning the theory, especially at college and uni, it was great to then be able to ask engineers, what does this do? How does this work? I've been studying something about retardation systems. Could you show me how the brakes on this 1930s aircraft work, so I can get a basic understanding of drum brakes as an example, as well as obviously being able to apply some of that learning with working on the aircraft at the university. Straight out of uni, I then worked for a precision engineering company in Coventry, on which I was the marketing assistant for this global company who did. This picture was taken, just a quick aside, this was taken at the Edexcel in London, and that was I was receptionist, and I was doing sales for technologies as part of the UK's biggest defence exhibition, which I can't remember if it's yearly or every 2 years now. But it was brilliant. I got to meet so many different people, lots of different companies, and even a far-fetched cousin from Ireland, which was a bit of a laugh. That was a placement that lasted only 3 months, but straight after I finished uni, I finally got into what I wanted to do, and that was following on from my love of maintenance, repair, overhaul, and getting to see how things work. And that was with Monarch Aircraft Engineering, which was at Birmingham Airport. If people haven't heard by my accent yet, I am a Brummie indeed. I'm very proud of it. And for those of you who might not remember Monarch, it was the purple and yellow aircraft. Yes, this is from one of the headrests that was on the aircraft. So it's great what you can get after airlines do go bunk. I was working with Monarch for 6 months as a compliance assistant, and that meant I was based in the office, but I was able to run up and down to the hangar every day, speak to all the engineers, investigate different issues across different teams. I had to find out I had to know what every single department did, and anything that did go wrong, I was then able to change procedures to be able to implement to make things safer, more efficient, and less costly. But occasionally, as part of that, I might throw on a pair of overalls, go looking in a toolbox to think, oh, okay, that's missing, or talk to people firsthand to find out what the miscommunications are, etc. And it was just brilliant working in a live aircraft environment and getting paid for it this time as well. Sadly, the company did fold 6 months later. So after the airline finished operating, they were doing work for all sorts of other airlines as a company. They were trying to come out as a standalone company at the time. As that failed, I was thinking about, with the only time with networking where my contacts did double overnight was when the company failed, because the industry were fantastic and rallied round us, and I think I had 200 extra contacts through LinkedIn within a few days, just because everyone had heard what had happened, and they had all the different hotels around the airport that had drop-in sessions where you could register your name, what you did, your experience, what jobs you were looking to do, and you could get contacted by different companies. What is sad about this current climate is that I really wish that my former colleagues who they might have worked at Monarch and then worked for EasyJet or all sorts of other companies that have sadly folded within the aerospace industry, for those who have been doing hands-on maintenance, and also for pilots as well, and anyone who's working with the airlines, that they haven't got that face-to-face contact to be able to meet and discuss things probably more candidly than you would do over video call or over online messaging. But it was great to know that other agencies were out there able to help, not just the company names, and one of those agencies was XPO. So XPO, a little bit like Belcan or a few others you might have heard of, XPO were previously a system, if you haven't heard of them. They have a resource pool in which you'll have a set of project managers, and under each project you might have aviation, or you have defence or rail, and within that resource pool we're then contracted to work for these companies, which is now why I'm at Rolls-Royce, but that's been a full-time position for me for 1.5 years. So I graduated 3 years ago, and this is where I am today. So I've worked precision engineering for an MRO, and in between the precision engineering and the MRO I ended up working in retail for about 6 months until I got a break back into the industry. And then since Monarch I've been at Rolls-Royce, so it's been quite a hectic 3 or 4 years, and it's given me a lot of hindsight having a lot of different roles. And with XPO as well, the beauty is that I get to experience 2 different office environments, 2 different companies, and compare the differences in how they operate, and say, oh, Rolls-Royce doing this, maybe think this is something XPO could do better, or XPO are doing this, maybe this is something that we can incorporate into the way our team function with Rolls-Royce. So it's brilliant to have that crossover. In terms of skipping ahead, what I would have done differently, due to my passion for all things aviation, and especially getting stuck in and doing anything that's hands-on work, I probably would have done a degree apprenticeship where you could do an apprenticeship over the course of 4 years and then do a degree on day release. However, I do know that's quite exhausting, especially if you're doing a lot of physical labour as well. And the best route, I believe, to being a mechanic if you plan to work with airlines is if you do the apprenticeship scheme, and within that you can do a level 3 in aeronautical engineering. That's if you want to be a hands-on mechanic. But even if you've done the university route like I've done, you can still do 2 or 3 years as an adult trainee scheme to be able to work on aircraft as well. But currently doing what I'm doing, working in the digital sector, it's very stable, and I've got a great team around me. I have got previous Coventry University graduates who also work with XPO as well, and it's great to be able to bump into not necessarily familiar faces, but people who know the same people, and with that you get a sense of what you've always known, which can be a nice comfort if you're starting out and you don't know anyone within your company. So that's how I probably would have done things differently. However, the experience I had is it's been helped me mature in different ways, and I've just learned a lot, especially when it's come to interviews or when it's come to the job application process. For the next thing I've got on my itinerary, please tell me to slow down or recap anything if you need me to. The next thing I've got is my best career progression tips. I would say network, research, and I would just say speak to, volunteer if you can, going off the back of what Graham was saying, whether it's the gliding club or anything like the IET, where you get to meet different people, and because you get just a flavour for what everyone does, and I'm constantly learning about new jobs every day. Even if people think, oh, if aviation's not very good at the moment, there's still so much you could do. There's within engine health monitoring, there's a lot that you can learn, and I never thought I'd be doing something involving software and migration of systems and database work, but they're all skills that you can use going forward. For other topics that I've had, I was just thinking, what would you like me to do? I was thinking I can talk about interviews and what I've learned from there, and how you have the work-life balance and starting a business, etc. But I've seen a couple of questions that have come in. Andre, Vanessa, would you like me to answer those now? I was just wondering what we're doing, also just considering time as well. I know we think we're running over a little bit.
We can have some if you are happy to answer.
Yes, I'm definitely happy to answer, yeah.
All right. So through your roles, did you need to learn any additional skills in order to be successful, and how did you build it?
Oh, good question. Additional skills. A lot of it was building on Excel and other programs and software. To do what I'm doing now, the minimum requirement was a degree, and I think they preferred people who had maybe 1 or 2 years experience. But even if you hadn't, we've had 1 or 2 people in our team who've come directly from uni, and they've maybe had a part-time job since, for example. And all our training we've done on the job. Some of what I've studied at uni I haven't needed. A lot of it is learning about engine types, engine serial numbers, different parts. The extra learning that I needed to do initially was good to just open the occasional Rolls-Royce textbook and have a look at different engine schematics. So when you're looking at all these different numbers and part types, etc., on a screen every day, it's good to be able to relate it back to something that actually exists, so you can say, that's what that would look like in an engine, for example. But everything that I've had has been on the job training, and it's been relatively easy to pick up along the way. Not sure if that answered the question. Could you just repeat what that question was, please? Because I think I might have missed something.
Through your roles, did you need to learn any additional skills in order to be successful?
In order to be successful. I don't think it's really aided me to be successful. I think it's just increased my knowledge base more than anything. But probably script writing in terms of SQL language, etc., has been really helpful, and knowing about different remote desktop connection servers. I think all of that can come in handy. Project management skills, definitely. And a lot of it has been really teamwork, team leadership, showing initiative. And what has helped is in this role, I didn't think my compliance work would come in handy, but as our team expanded from 3 to 4 people up to about 10 people who all started pretty much one after the other. And during the time of the job I'm in currently, I had 6 months where my team leader was on maternity, and the cover for the team leader then went off sick. So the responsibility of the team leader got split between the program manager and myself. So I ended up, as well as doing my own job, training other members of staff in quick succession, and then also, as well as that, I was assigning work to the team every day. So as part of that, and because the team expanded so quickly, it was a bit of a baptism by fire, but it was good to be able to create a better schedule for myself in terms of what you prioritise, and also in terms of what I learned through Monica in terms of auditing and in terms of procedure amendment, etc. Having procedures that I could create and amend and get peer reviewed, and having information and training guides that were accessible to all of us, that's what helped us pass the audits. So it was good to be able to have that background knowledge and implement that and make some really positive changes for the team.
Thank you very much. What would be your best advice for finding a job or placement during the current climate?
My best advice would be get onto all the things like Indeed. I found out about XPO through CV Library myself, because you upload your CV, you can get a free CV review, and the companies tend to contact you. So I'd say have a look at all the recruiting agencies. I would also say think laterally as well. So don't just think, oh, I have to get onto a graduate scheme to do this. You can go in any direction you want. I always say, if you can, do what you love and love what you do, especially if you're going to be doing it 40 hours a week. But I would just say, just be open-minded. I know a lot of people who have had aerospace backgrounds are currently applying what they can within the marine sector. And there's a lot of design jobs that I know that have been cropping up recently, hundreds at a time that have been advertised. I'm not quite sure if all of those spaces are now filled, but this is what I've just heard through the grapevine, so to speak. I would also just say, keep your ear close to the ground, network when you can. I think if people are higher up in companies, if people are of a management level, there may be, I think it's good to get connected with people who have had more experience, been at companies for a long time, and they might be able to just give you a little bit of guidance here and there for what they think may be suited to you. And also, don't be afraid to ask your friends, ask your colleagues, no matter what your job you've done, what do you think I'd be good at doing? And also, I've noticed on interviews especially, you get asked a lot, oh, how would your friends describe you? Or how would your colleagues describe you? So in advance, ask your friends, how would you describe me? And think, what do you think, the kind of things that I might worry about more? Do you think I need to worry about these things less, or how can I channel it in a different way? So that when it comes to the job application process, that's, you've got examples that you can give saying, oh, I've had colleagues or friends remark on this and both are positive, and then say, here's a weakness that I've worked on and tried to improve in advance of that, especially knowing that I'm interested in X, Y, Z within this particular role that I'm applying to. So it shows that you're taking, you're using initiative and taking action before you've even got the job.
Thank you very much, Hannah.
Have anybody got any other questions? I know I've kind of babbled my way through and raced through that, so apologies.
I don't know if anyone received any particular questions in private and it wants to reply or something like that. If so,
I've just seen what Graham's written in terms of aerospace jobs applicable to many renewable energy fields. For those who haven't seen, and the purpose of those questions is about stress and seeing how you react. Not so much what you say. Yes, it's good to consider. Yes. I think just off the back of that, my advice would be for interviews. I did have my I have had an interview which I was successful for and offered the job for. The person who interviewed me was really gave me a grilling on all sorts of things, and I did actually say I think it's good in that moment not to try and make up your way through things, but to say, I'm really sorry, I don't know the answer to this at the moment, but it's something that I have covered and I am willing to learn and re-pick up again. So I would just say in an interview, don't be afraid to say, actually, I don't know this, because it's better than trying to fluff your way through something if you don't know. And I think that's really valuable.
Reiterate that, of having done exactly this in industry, and it happens a great deal, is that a lot of questions by people who've done lots of interviews are about putting you under a little stress to see how you react. It goes back to my point that you're all, when you've got to interview, your kind of profile has already sold your skills. They're pretty well there, or they're very likely to be. Is will you fit in? So it's about personality. So take a deep breath, think about it. If you don't have an answer, exactly as Hannah said, just say, I don't have an answer for that. Move on. It's about how you react. It's not the answer you give, it's how you react.
Yeah, I did get a question to me sent on the private chat about, let me see if I can find it now. But I had a mentor and now I'm mentoring. So what do I think helped being mentored myself? And I think that was a very good question. And for me, being mentored myself and actually now being a mentor, I've actually took a lot of the questions from what I asked and how my mentor responded, and a lot of the common issues. I've also had the benefit from the fact that I've also had IET mentor training and PRA training as well. So that has also helped me also to become a better mentor because of this, because I've had the benefit of actually getting the experience of some other IET mentors and PRAs such as Graham, because Graham's actually helped me become a PRA myself for people who want to become chartered. So yeah, I think being mentor has been good, and I've learned off other mentors as well. So and as everyone said, you're always continuously learning, so it's a great thing to do. So I think that answers the question I had. So yeah, well, thank you for posting that question.
Thank you very much. All right. What am I doing? All right. Sorry about it. Technical difficulties. All right. Are you happy to do the presentation, Dr. Tickle?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So, and Graham can jump in, and any people can jump in as well if I miss anything out. So yeah, we're the IT Young Professionals.
You're fully trained now. It's up to you.
So we're the IT Young Professionals Committee, and we organise a lot of STEM and STEAM events for students and young professionals. So what happens is we organise events ranging from things like seminars and training courses, such as like tonight, where we get the benefit of people's experience, seminars that give you knowledge on specific topics. There's a lot of IT competitions, such as IT Presenter Around the World, which is our staple presentation competition. Hopefully there is going to be an online version of that for 2021 because of COVID. So yeah, so there's a lot of competitions. There are social events such as our IT welcome event that we had. So we did a digital event this year for the first time, which was doing Scribblio. we had our own version of Dungeons and Dragons, which was greatly written by Vanessa and her partner. And again, just a lot of networking events and things. We've got our own version of University Challenge. So yeah, lots of events where you can learn, network, and basically just meet new people and everything else. We also do joint events with our sister networks, such as the British Computer Society and the Aviation Mechanical Engineering. And we've also done other events with the Institute of Physics as well. So we do link out and cross with a lot of other professional bodies as well. So we're the professional body that looks after the electrical engineering. When I joined, it was the IEE. So we joined with the IE, I believe, to form the IEP. So we accredit a lot of the things. We also work again with the with the Royal Aeronautical Society, which Anna and our aerospace people over here as well will know. So, and Coventry and Warwickshire are a very proud network. We are one of the most active local networks in the country. And again, Graham and my fellow committee members can credit this, because we've won great accolades, such as having the most number of non-members at events. We do a lot of work with schools. We've got one of our signature events called Robot Day, which we ran at the Coventry Transport Museum. We were featured on BBC News for that, and thank you for Stephen for bringing that to us. We do collaborations with other networks as well, such as IT in Birmingham, IT in Derby, and we're trying to work, and we've had committee members from the Birmingham and Liverpool networks who come down and contribute to our events as well. So it's not just a local network, it's a great way that we work with other networks, other professional bodies, and again, it's something that we're really cool and we're really proud of. We've got a lot of social media presence, and as we said, we're going to launch our own YouTube channel as well, where the recording from this will be edited and then put online. So it's something I'm really proud to do. Get involved with us if you want to be on the committee, or if you want to get involved with managing these events and running these events, then get in touch with myself or any of the members on this committee, on this call, and we'll be more than happy to help you. So yeah, the IT is great. Get involved, join in, and it's something really cool to do.
It is. Just don't forget all this voluntary stuff. When you put it on your CV, it's one of the things that makes you stand out from someone else. It makes you stand out because you're prepared to do something that's not just your job and your social life. And you talk about what's the difference between and how somebody gets to interview and how they don't. It's not because they're part of the IT network or anything. It's because they go and do stuff, and they demonstrate they do stuff that they just don't have to do, but they're willing to contribute. So if you're thinking, what could I do? Well, the answer is, well, you won't know till you try.
Yeah, I completely agree, and like I said, I actually recruited a lot of the people to this committee, otherwise the young professionals. So,
and as for the most successful network, the only network in the world that has higher attendance figures for events is in India, for obvious reasons. But we are by a country mile the most successful network in the country.
And again, that's something that we're really, really proud of. So yeah. But it's because we do cool events, like we're involved with the Big Bang, we do Robot Day, we do Lego League, we do Vex Robotics. We are involved in a lot of stuff, and particularly motivating the next generation of engineers and scientists. So we go into schools, we do events like with robots, and with helping with careers events as well. So yeah, it's something that's really great, and it's like we enjoy doing this. We wouldn't be volunteers if we didn't. And again, to mirror Graham's comments, like I said earlier, I got chartered at quite a young age because I did a lot of volunteering and extracurricular work. I got my C-Eng when I was 26, which I heard was very, very young, and it all came from doing all this stuff with the IET. And again, that is something I have to be thankful for. I love working with the IET, and it's really great.
26? Blimey, you beat me. I was just looking at the date on my thing. I was 2 days past 27.
Yeah, but yeah, it's something really good to get involved in. So yeah, and like I said, we have committee members from the aerospace industry, from the computing side of things. So, like I said, you don't have to be an electrical engineer to get involved with the IET. Yeah.
Any STEM discipline, really. Could
Yeah.
argue.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff with schools.
Mm.
Also with colleges as well, because that's the thing about networking. Once you get to know people, people say, oh, could you do a presentation with this society or this group or this company? And I ended up, when I was working at Monarch, doing a lecture for aviation management second years. I ended up doing a stand for Women in Aviation Week at RAF Cosford when I was 17 as well. So you just never know where these different opportunities in terms of networking, in terms of volunteering, are going to lead you. And I myself have been on the committee since 2016. It just gives you lots of different platforms in which you can promote the IET as well, or find out about the IET from.
Yeah. I'll pass back to Andre, our host.
Thank you very much for all your thoughts, and we are grateful, at least I am grateful that I was able, and I'm honored that I was able to have you guys here. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for your time. We hope that you enjoyed, and take care. Follow us on social media, and you have here the few platforms that you can join and keep up with our latest events and activities. Stay safe, guys. Thank you very much for your
I'd also
time.
just like to mirror Andre's comments, like, well, we don't know what our next event will be yet, but again, check out the social media, because all the posts are there well in advance, and we put weekly posts about things and other interesting events as well, such as tips and things about what's going on in the world. So keep an eye on the social media.